Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome once again to Hang On Supi, a show powered by Scarlet and Gray Sports Radio. I'm your host, Caleb Supi Spinner. Today, I have the honor of talking with a member of the Ohio State baseball team, Mr. Brent Todys. Brent, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Caleb. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I've gotten to see you play a couple times, gotten to call a couple exciting games, some home runs of yours, I'm pretty certain, but it's been entertaining to watch you play this season.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you've been able to catch some games. It's been a whirlwind of a season, but it's been an exciting one. So,
yeah, you guys go out every time. It seems, even in the games that you guys lose, it seems like it's always a battle. And in baseball, it's 50-50. Sometimes you can be a great team, but your bats are cold, your pitcher's cold. Anything can happen in baseball, but it looks like you guys always stay in it in one way or another in every game you play in.
Yeah, with the COVID season, we're limited to playing only conference games, and it seems like like you said, every game is a battle just because both teams know what the circumstances are. No Big Ten tourney, so we got to make do with our conference schedule and just win as many games as possible to get a shot at the the big dance at the end.
In a way that both that benefits and hurts you. That we have to play in between the conference, because the Big Ten is a fantastic conference in a lot of sports, including baseball. So you're playing some of the best guys. You get that great test going into the big dance, but then also that could hurt if you start slipping up playing against some of the best talents. If you come out, you drop 3 straight, that'll hurt you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a couple instances this year where we have gone on those skids. And it's tough because, we play everyone, or not everyone, but we play some teams multiple times. And so you just got to hope that doesn't come back to bite you, seeing guys multiple times. We just got to have a good game plan each time out and, put together enough talent to get a win. So
you guys have one more series coming up at home against Northwestern. That's coming up next week. Or at the time of this recording, it's coming up next week. This will be going out a few weeks after that series has been played. So a little bit of a time paradox there. But we're going to go back in time, speaking of, to talk about your seasons before you became a member of the Scarlet and Gray. In your high school season, your junior year of high school, you batted .412 with a home run, and in one season at Andrew College, where you were before Ohio State, you hit .353 with 6 homers and 46 RBI. Why do you think you've been so successful at the plate?
I think just the coaches I've been around growing up. There's been so many people that have helped me become the hitter I am. But the roots of it, I'm a competitor at the plate, and that's what I rely on. I just rely on going up there and just playing the game and battling and doing whatever I can to hit the ball hard. So just growing up. My high school coaches, my travel ball coaches, really instilled the root of that in me. So just being a competitor is huge. So
now, when you go on successful tears like you do so often, the one bad pitch, the one strikeout, the one ball that you swing on that is going to be way high of the zone and you shouldn't have, that can get in your head. How do you make sure that those don't affect you at your next at bat?
That's a great question. Everyone, here and there is going to swing at that, the slider in the dirt or, the fastball that was up. I think that it's a one pitch at a time for me. I'll try and focus on the pitch that's coming, and, regardless of the outcome, it's so what, I may have just swung at a bad pitch, or I may have missed a good pitch. But it's just, flush that down the drain and get ready for the next one. Because if you're not ready for the next one, the outcomes are probably not going to be good. So, it's a one pitch at a time mentality.
I mentioned it before on the show when we were talking to the 2 members of the softball team we've had on before, that baseball is a game where you need to have a short memory. You cannot let things get into your head. You got to move on, especially now with this conference schedule. You're playing teams 3-4 times in a row. So you cannot let what happened the first game, in some cases the doubleheader too, can't let what happened the first game get in front of you and stop you from going on to this next one. when you were at Ohio State, and this is something I find extra impressive, is that hitting didn't stop. You carried that in. I'm trying to find the numbers here because they are impressive. But as a redshirt sophomore, your first season with the Buckeyes, notched an impressive 9 home runs, 41 RBI in 57 games. Who are some of the people, both the coaches and the teammates, who helped you transition from playing in the GCAA to the high caliber of the Big Ten?
So there's 2 people that come to mind. The first guy is John Piles. So John, he is from Newark, Ohio, and I was introduced to him by a friend of mine in high school that has trained with him. He's a hitting coach. He does private lessons. He really helped me mechanically get to where I need to be, and really helped me, figure out my swing and what's going to put me in the best position, to hit successfully. And he helped me before I got to Ohio State. So he helped me get to where I needed to be when I was at Andrew College. So first John, and then Matt Engel, the hitting coach at Ohio State. He's really helped me, through a lot of obstacles at Ohio State, and he's kind of helped me. He's helped guide me to where I need to be, mentally in the box. My approach, putting myself in the right mindset to hit. So, and he really hasn't forced me to do anything. It's always been, let's try certain things, just to see what you're comfortable with, so that, you and I can figure out something just to put you in the best position to hit. So
now you're a redshirt senior, which I like to refer to as senior with an extra step. Tell me a little bit more about what a redshirt athlete is.
So, it can mean a lot of different things. Redshirt, it could mean that you're not where you need to be in your development. You need to take an extra year to, prove your game. And, you have the option to do that, to take a year. That comes from the coaches and, agreement between the coaches and the players. Or, obviously injury, hurting yourself and you need an extra year to recover. So
I feel like that's a buzzword that gets thrown around a lot. He's a redshirt senior. He's a redshirt sophomore. And I don't think that the common fan understands what that is. So I'm glad you're able to provide a definition of that. And it can be one or the other. It can be the injuries or the development. But it's a very, I think, integral part of not just baseball, but of sports in general, is to get that extra step, whether it was because of a lack of developed skill. I'll say not necessarily a lack of skill in general, but developed skill or of an injury, kind of helps the athlete and gets the best for them. What has your experience been like being a redshirt athlete at Ohio State?
So my experience being a redshirt is kind of unique because I had a redshirt that was not because of either of the 2 reasons that I just mentioned. So I say it's unique because when I transferred, so my first school, I went to Mount Vernon Nazarene University as a freshman, and I actually transferred out of there to go to junior college after my first semester. And I played games in the fall during my first semester at Mount Vernon that were countable games, because you can do that in the NAIA. You play games in the fall that are countable. And since I had transferred to a junior college after playing in those countable games, my eligibility, I had no eligibility. I couldn't continue a year somewhere else, but there was none of that communication that was not communicated between the coaches, myself, or the NCAA or the NJCAA. So once I got to Ohio State after my JUCO route, it was brought up that, I made that transfer not knowing that I was going to be ineligible. So it was almost like it wasn't my fault. So that's why I ended up getting a redshirt year, because it was like, okay, he may have gotten the short end of the stick here because he transferred without knowing that he was going to be ineligible. So we'll give him that year back. So that's how my situation played out. But being a redshirt here at OSU has been awesome because Ohio State looked into that on their own. I never requested for them to do that. It was like, all right, let's see if we can do something nice for this guy. And they did. They got a year back for me, and I'll forever regret.
it's exciting to see that the conference and the school are looking out for you. One of the things we heard about last year with the March Madness tournament, especially when the coronavirus pandemic first came out, is the NCAA looking for what's best for its athletes? Because there were a lot of people when the science came out, they said these guys aren't going to be in that age where it's going to be affected. So should we really? That was the debate that dominated the sports news cycles. And I think it's great for these people to hear that the same people they question their intentions are the same ones who went out, fought, and got you an extra year. I think that's something awesome that I'm glad you shared with us. As I mentioned, and as you just talked about there, you transferred not once, but a couple times. What has that been like, both academically and athletically, to start over at a new college as often as you have?
It's been a roller coaster. It's been, a lot of things to juggle. Where am I going to be? Where, what friends am I going to have? What my teammates like? And then, the academics. It was hard because I had to change my major multiple times just because schools didn't either have the major or I didn't have the credits required, from school to school. So it was definitely different. I had to pick up classes in the summer at, random schools to come to Ohio State because I didn't have the credits from Andrew. So, basically that whole transfer from JUCO to Ohio State rode on one summer class, and it was, I got the grades in, got them good enough to come here. So, but yeah, I mean, I've been four schools, so it's been crazy, being on 4 different teams, trying to be a part of something good and make the most of it.
And now, of course, you're a sports industry major with aspirations to be in the front office of an MLB organization. I think that would be exciting for you, especially since you know what's going on in the field. Now, college, MLB, 2 different games, but for the most part, you understand what a player's going to want, what accommodations we should have in the dugouts, at the practice facility, stuff like that. I think that's going to give you an inside edge that not many GMs or front office workers, just to make it a general statement, have in the MLB right now.
Absolutely. That would be the dream, obviously. Who doesn't like to, go on MLB The Show or, Madden, make their own team, do the trades. But I think it's just a cool job. It's a cool dream to have. But, working in the sport industry would be awesome. And, whether that be, branding or whether that be, whatever, front office, that would be awesome just to stay in sports. And, it is what I know best because it's what I've been around my whole life. So it would be awesome.
It was NBA 2K's My League feature for me. But yes, I understand exactly what you're doing. The Columbus Commodores, we're rocking strong, okay, on 2K20. Going back to your transferring and making the jump from the GCAA to the Big Ten, how long would you say it took you to adjust to the level of the Big Ten?
I would say that it was just kind of on the run. It was like my first couple of weekends as a Buckeye. It was crazy. I surprised myself. Dingler went down and broke his hamate bone, and I just was thrown in there because it was but it's always next guy up mentality. So you got to be ready. But you're never truly ready for it because it comes so quick like that. So when Dingler went down, I went in there. Like I said, I was just trying to be the competitor that I know I am and hit. But I think it just once conference started and we started playing other Big Ten teams, it was I tried to carry on that mindset. And Dingler got back, and I got a couple of shots at DH and tried to make the most of it. So I think it wasn't so much facing the competition. It was just believing in myself, and I think every other baseball player would say that once they have the belief factor, then they'll be successful.
We talked about making the most of your shot whenever it comes with Caitlin Kaufman last week on that episode 13. I don't want to throw you off guard. I promised you I'd stick to the outline that we have with the questions, but I don't mean to throw you off, but I'm glad you mentioned it. Your experience at a DH, you're going to be going hopefully into the MLB front office. What's your stance on the universal DH rule?
I love it. I think that it provides so much more opportunity. And fans are always looking for more offense, more action. Their complaints about MLB being slow. It's not fun enough to watch. Just give the NL a DH. You see it last year. Guys like Schwarber with the Cubs, or Jack Peterson with the Dodgers. Guys will get so much opportunity, and it's helps them get paid. So, and it helps the fans better experience. So I think I'm all for it.
During my morning workout, I put on Get Up or Sports Center, whatever's on that early in the morning, and they were just talking about Kluber, who at the time of this recording, for the Yankees, Indians fan, as you can see from the Baker Mayfield, Cleveland. So it kind of has a bad taste in my mouth to say Kluber with the Yankees. But he had just notched another no-hitter, and that was the conversation was, are we hurting the offense here? I just think it's impressive to pitch a no-hitter. Why can't we be talking about this as, hey, this guy pitched a no-hitter. How about we up the talent on the offense to keep up with this guy? Why is that not the conversation? I think a DH would do that, though.
Absolutely. And it's crazy. There's been like 6 or 7 no-hitters already, and there's never been more than 7 in a full year. So do you think we'll break that record this year or no?
On our way to it. I mean, if I'm remembering the stats too right, I'm too busy suffering through the 4 miles to really focus on it. But I think it said this is the second month in MLB history where we've had 4 no-hitters this month, in the month of May. This is the second time in MLB history, I mixed up my leagues, where they've had 4+ no-hitters. So we're on pace to break it. It's just, can Kluber and the rest of the pitchers keep it up? That's something that'll be exciting to follow. Let's get the train back on the tracks here. Focus on the main conversation with you. As much as I love that, there are some things I want to get to here. Going back to the transferring process with you, what are some of the challenges that you face transferring? You mentioned some academically, having to take new classes and things through different colleges to get the credits, but specifically focusing athletically, what are some of the challenges you had there?
I think the biggest thing was being far from home. So I'm from Columbus, and going down to near the panhandle of Florida, down in the bottom of Georgia and Alabama, being 11 hours away from home was tough. There wasn't just, hey, I'll just drive home this weekend. There wasn't any of that. Very rarely did I go home. But being far, kind of just growing up on myself, and making my own decisions was hard. I had to hold myself accountable. Make sure I was getting my work in, because there wasn't anybody there, other than my teammates. But and the other challenge was learning, to love the process. The weight room, taking care of my body, making sure that I'm staying in good shape. Learning to love that was a challenge, but you have to learn to love it if you want to be an athlete and you want to compete at Division I level. You gotta be strong, and that was something that I didn't show out of high school, and I learned to love it, and it's gotten me to where I need to be today, and I plan on keeping to improve that. So
I'm glad you focused on those instead of, well, I have to buy new gear now that matches the color of my new team. Glad we didn't focus on that bit. Last question here, and then we'll get into Supi Speed Round. It was our little, our split up get to know you segment that we have going on. Who were some of the upperclassmen who took you under their wing and helped you get into life at Ohio State?
Well, first, top of my head, Matt Carpenter. Matt Carp has been awesome. Who is now, our on the coaching staff here at OSU. He's our first base coach. Carp's knowledge of the game is vast, man. He knows so much, and he's a team guy. He's a player's guy, and he relates to everybody. He gives some of the best advice you will ever hear too. And I appreciate Carp and the way he carries himself, and he knows a lot about the game, and he's there to help everyone. So Carp, and then Ridge Wyden. Ridge is a good guy because he was actually one of the team captains back in 2019. Ridge was he was always there for guys, and he took me under his wing in the summer, right when I transferred in. He was always there making sure, if I ever need anything, to let him know, asking me how things were going. So Ridge was always there, but Ridge and Carp for sure were the two guys that stood out to me.
And it's awesome now that you mentioned they're on the coaching staff. They can still benefit you and guide you as you're going through your time at Ohio State. I think that's awesome. So we're going to get into Supi's speed round right now. For those of you who may not be familiar with the segment, you'll have 45 seconds. We've got a list of questions here. They're thought-provoking, so I gave you a little extra time for them. Again, there is no competition on how many you can answer in the time. We're not comparing you with other guests who have gone through this. The only reason the time limit exists is so A, we don't do this forever, and B, so I can try to pressure you into getting what's on the top of your head here and getting honest answers to these. So if you're ready, I'll set my timer here just to make sure that we are staying where we need to. All right. If you're ready, 3, 2, 1. Name someone you admire.
Mike Trout.
What's the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, shoot. I would say, I can't say that. I'll say rotten fruit. Let's go. Next one.
What's the first thing you do in the morning?
Go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom. I got to get it out.
Who's the actor who would play you in a movie?
Zach Galifianakis.
Oh my goodness, I can't laugh at that yet. Best place to get ice cream?
Oh, Wits, hands down.
And last one, where would you live other than Ohio?
Never been there, but I would say Hawaii. I hear it's beautiful.
Okay. So we got to touch on this. I'll get into the more detail-oriented side of me here. Wits is technically custard, not ice cream. So where's an ice cream place? I love Wits. Trust me, that was the best part of my visit to OU. But what is?
I would say Cold Stone. Cold Stone's money.
Yes, there it is. Cold Stone or Graders were the two answers I was really looking for. And then Galifianakis, my main man from The Hangover, the Wolf Pack.
Yes, absolutely.
It's an interesting pick.
Any of my friends that you would ask about me would know my sense of humor and know my personality. They would say the same thing.
Okay. I like it. But that was awesome. I learned a lot of good stuff there. Moving on to our main discussion back off of that. Talking about catcher, the position you play right now. One of the most important positions in baseball. I don't think I'll get any backlash for saying that. Did you ever feel pressure putting such a crucial part of a team's defense on your shoulders?
No, I feel like, playing a game of baseball, you got to be able to handle the pressure because, it's a game of failure. It's a hard sport. So, you got to go out there and just play the game and, look at what the game's going to throw at you and be ready for it. So, being a catcher, you've got to be in every single pitch. You don't have time to, take a pitch off or, lose your focus. You've got to be tapped in for 27 outs, 9 innings. So I don't feel the pressure of holding that responsibility, but if any pressure, it's just the pressure of the game, and you got to be able, to absorb it and, throw it away.
Now, hockey is one of my favorite sports to watch, going back to my roommate who got me into it this year at Ohio State. The catcher and the goalie, aside from looking the same relatively, they both have to have really quick hand-eye coordination. Goalies, you'll see them in the tunnel before throwing the tennis ball against the wall and catching it. What are some of the drills that you do to make sure that your hand-eye coordination is where it needs to be?
I'll usually do the machine. People hit off the machine, but I like to use the machine, to receive off of it. I'll just crank it up, throw it as hard as I can, just sit there in the winter and break in gloves and just work on that. But the other guy I use is Brad Goldberg, who is our assistant pitching coach. I take him out before every single game, and we have our routine. I'll say, all right, I want you to throw the ball hard, and I want you to throw it in the dirt. So, it kind of gets my eyes warmed up, kind of block a couple balls before I go into the game so I'm feeling ready. So
one of the catcher's most important duties is to watch the bases when the pitcher can't. When he's going to pitch and a runner commits to the steal, that's on you to identify it. What are some of the things you look for? What are some of the signs that runners will show that you look for in order to get that throw where it needs to be?
I kind of just look for situations that runners will like to run in. There are certain counts, there's certain situations in the game, certain guys in the lineup that'll run or, might like to run in certain situations. So I kind of take that into account. And, I always try and peek over at their leads, see what their leads are like. But you also just, like I said, you have to know what kind of runner the guy is. I've got to think to myself, is this guy a runner or is this guy, station to station on the bases? So just kind of have to take in, account all the situations that are being thrown at you.
Which base do you think's the hardest to get a pickoff at?
A pickoff for myself or a pitcher?
For you.
Definitely second base. It's the longest throw, man. Second base is tough. You got to get it there, 2 to 2.1 seconds to get a guy. It's got to be there. So definitely second base. Not
to mention Burhan or whoever's on the mound has to know to duck when you're about to sling that.
Yeah,
because he's going to get in the way.
No, third base is my best friend because it's the shortest throw. So.
How large of a role, one of the things that, whenever you say pitcher catcher, one of the things that always comes to mind is the signs that you give to your pitcher, the fingers in between the legs. There's a lot of debate. Every catcher's different. There's a lot of debate with how much pull the catcher has in determining what pitch is going to come from the pitcher. What would you say that relationship is with you and just any given pitcher? Because we know there's multiple on staff.
Well, first of all, some of the guys on the staff, there's definitely fewer where we're able to call our own games, and then there are most of the guys where it's our pitching coach kind of relaying signs. But in the end, it's a joint effort. It's three of us, myself, Coach Delusha, and whoever's on the mound. It's a joint effort. It's all about communication. In the game, we've got to relay information to each other, what we see, what was done, and that could range anywhere for, like how a pitcher is throwing, like how is his stuff? How is his stuff moving? What do they have feel of? Because one day you might have a breaking ball, next day you might not, it's just whatever you have. And it's other stuff like myself. I can provide information on batters. Where's a guy standing in the box? How is his swing play? Is he getting beat or is he out in front of everything? And like I said, it's just relaying all the information between us three and putting an effort jointly to try and get a win.
Now, I know better than to ask how you communicate that during a game. I'm not trying to be a Houston Astro here, but in practice, how do you, the catchers and the pitchers, work together to make sure that you're on the same page as to what those signs mean?
So, we always practice our signs. We always have to be on the same page with those. But what we do in practice, what our job is to, provide feedback for the pitchers, let them know what we see. Is it what they want? Like how their pitches are, is there stuff where where they want it to be, are the pitches moving how they want it to be? We just got to be their feedback, and it's good to instill the confidence in them and to praise them when they are doing well and when they're doing what they want. So that's another reason why catch is so important. You got to be a cheerleader too, because if you're not, then nothing's going to be moving in the right direction. So
those walks to the mound aren't always a, hey, get it together. Sometimes they're a, hey, keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you talked about how a lot of the times it's the coaches who make the sign to determine it. So I got to imagine that's pretty universal. But in those situations where you and the pitcher are able to call your own game, do you have different signs? Do different numbers of fingers mean things with different pitchers? And how do you remember all of those?
Yes. So some pitchers will have different signs for breaking balls or for changeups, for fastballs. Some pitchers have, fewer pitches. It's just you gotta remember. You start in the fall. Starting to get to know the staff during fall ball when we're scrimmaging each other. That's when we start learning each other, learning all the different signs. But yeah, like I said, fall ball. That's when you start remembering all of them. So that comes springtime, we're ready to rock.
So you've got quite a window there to get them all memorized down.
Absolutely.
When we were just talking about the discussions that you have on the mound, and we said that not all of them are negative, what are some of the words of encouragement you give a pitcher, either when he's doing well or when he needs a pick-me-up?
Well, it definitely depends on the pitcher. Knowing the pitcher's personalities and knowing what I might say, can affect them. You have to know what to say to each certain guy. Some guy might need a little spiciness, a little pep, get it going here. Let's go. Or some guys might need a little encouragement, and it's important to know your pitcher, and so you can know what the right thing to say is. And I like to go out there when a pitcher needs a breather. When a pitcher needs a breather, you can see that stuff has not been going his way, or a couple knocks, couple hits. So it's just good. I like to go out there, give a guy a breather, and remind him of the situation. Because it's hard to get lost in the game. Playing the game, it's hard to keep track. So just going out there and getting him back on track.
Last two things I'll leave you with. We'll look ahead here, talking about that Northwestern series we started off this interview with. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to and the objectives that you have for that series?
Well, that series is super important, and it's awesome that it's at home, so we can finish off here. It's going to be much easier to finish off the season. But we actually had three in the beginning. The original schedule had us playing three against them, but we actually picked up a fourth because of the Minnesota series getting canceled. So, but the most important thing about the Northwestern series is that we finish off strong. And like I said, there's no Big Ten tourney, so we've got to take advantage of these games. And if we were to win 3 or 4 of these last 4 games, that'd be huge, and we definitely give ourselves a better shot, to make the NCAA tournament. So just playing our game.
And the last thing here, this season was in jeopardy. Everything was in doubt when the pandemic first hit. What's it been like to play this season and get, one of the last times that you'll be in a Buckeyes uniform?
It's been crazy. It's you can't really prepare. It's like preparing week by week or day by day. It's kind of hard because you don't know what's going to be thrown at you. There's so many different things that we've done this year, testing, and just our like I said, our routines have been changed because, the way that we do things in the past is not the same anymore, and how we go about things. So it was definitely hard in the beginning. It started to change with, vaccines being available and, taking advantage of that. But it was definitely hard in the beginning because you just didn't know what was going to get thrown at you day in, day out. So But it's been a roller coaster, but I think we've all learned a lot through the pandemic. So I'm just glad that we got a season in, and I'm glad that we're still playing and we still got games to play. But it's definitely been a learning process.
Hopefully it'll feel a bit more normal when the mask mandate goes away here in Ohio, and that'll hopefully get you a little more sense of normalcy in this time. So I'm hoping that for you guys. Again, good luck with Northwestern. Thanks for coming on the show. It's been awesome to talk with you, and I look forward to staying in touch with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Caleb.
Of course. Make sure you're tuning in to Hang On Supi each and every week. The podcast version of the weekly episode releases on Wednesday on scarletandgraysportsradio.com and the SGSR SoundCloud page. And the video version of the episode, for those of you who like to watch instead of listen, releases Fridays on YouTube. So make sure you're checking in there. The best way to know what's happening with the show is to follow us on Instagram at HangOnSupi. We announced the giveaway last week. Once we reach 800 followers on the Instagram, we will be giving away 3 $50 Amazon gift cards, one for each month of the summer. So make sure we're getting to that number so you can snag one of those Amazon gift cards and do some online shopping that we know everybody loves to do. I'll see you next week, but until then, I'm Caleb Spinner. That's the show. I'm out of here.